Hi, how are you? This is Derek from FreshEyesMissedOpportunities.com, and it's Sunday morning. Well, it's almost noontime anyway, early December, and it's a little bit cool out. So my door is open to my hotel onto the balcony here, but I don't normally like to wear anything long sleeve. Does this have any relevance to what I'm going to say here? Absolutely not. It has some other bearing, though, which in other lessons I will talk to you about. Okay, I'm going to read an excerpt from this book right here. Can you see it? This book is called, just in case you couldn't read it well, Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords: How to Access 100 Million People in 10 Minutes by Perry Marshall and Brian Todd. And no, this is not a pitch for their book. What I'm doing is I'm giving them credit for something that I'm going to read. And I'm reading it because, of course, they say it so well that there's really no reason for me to try and rephrase it. Just give them the credit where the credit is due. Okay. The title of what I'm going to read you is called Selling Prevention When People Only Want a Cure. Now, this applies to all businesses, and the majority of you people that are watching me, here, you're in business, so this is very relevant to you. In the late 1980s, an infomercial was shot for a product that every parent should have. A video designed to help parents talk to their teenagers about drugs. Dan Kennedy, who told me this story, was hired to write the copy. It was such an altruistic, appealing project that everybody wanted to help with it. It was hosted by First Lady Nancy Reagan. There were dozens of prominent Hollywood stars in the cast. The production values were outstanding, and it was nothing less than beautifully produced, impressive, and inspiring infomercial aimed at making America a better place for kids. It was an advertising equivalent of the milk of human kindness. Those behind the commercial were so proud of themselves they almost busted their buttons. They bought the airtime and they ran the infomercial. Guess how many orders they got? Zero. Absolutely none. The phones were silent. Frantic, the producers called the number on the screen just to make sure there wasn't a problem with the phones. No problem. Phones weren't the problem. Nobody wanted to buy a video about talking to their kids about drugs. And they especially didn't want to sit down with their teenager on a sofa, pop in a video, show it to them, and have a discussion about it. Nancy Reagan couldn't convince them. Hollywood couldn't convince them. A team of professional copywriters couldn't convince them. Why not? Now here's the relevant part. Sorry we had to do this little build-up part, but you'll see that it makes sense. Because the whole concept behind the video was prevention, not cure. It was entirely too easy for the viewer, who was in no pain whatsoever, not yet anyway, to think, Fred and Doris need this, not me. My kids would never take drugs. Talking to little Missy about it would have been an awful conversation anyway. It's awfully hard to sell a solution to a problem when somebody's in denial about it. He has a little blurby thing, after each chapter, which has a little picture, and he calls it Uncle Claude Says. And Claude is Claude Hopkins, and if you're not familiar with him, he died in about 1932. And he wrote a book called Scientific Advertising. And my suggestion is that you get a copy of that, And he's known probably as the daddy or the granddaddy or of results-driven advertising. In other words, he invented the coupon. That should be enough right there. Anyway, he says prevention is not a popular subject. However, much it should be. People will do much to cure trouble, but people in general will do little to prevent it. So, when you're selling something, when you have an option, sell the cure, not the prevention. Think of it this way. Think of, let's say, like weight loss. How many people would buy, my God, if you follow this regime here, you'll never put on weight. As against how many people buy, I need to lose 25 pounds, 20 pounds, 10 pounds, or whatever it is. Right? Get it. And in another example, and this would be my last one. Let's say you're a furniture store and you're selling, well, furniture, of course. And somebody comes in and buys a sofa set. And what would you do if you were a smart furniture store salesman? You would offer them something like Scotchgard in order to protect their investment. Absolutely. Now, would that be selling them prevention or be selling them a cure? Think about that. It would be selling them, in my opinion anyway, it would be selling them a cure. Why? Well, they just spent a lot of money on their sofa, right? Yes. And so they're worried now that maybe their investment might get harmed in any way. Little Johnny and it, might spill something on it, coffee, they themselves might, etc. Somebody puts their dirty feet on it, their dirty hands on it, whatever it is. So what you're doing is you're selling them a cure for that fear that they have. Yes, you could look at it and say, well, but you're selling them prevention so it won't happen. Well, think of it this way. Suppose that they already had a sofa set sitting in their home and it wasn't brand new. And you tried to sell them Scotchgarding. How successful do you think it would be? Probably not very successful. But because they just bought it, and you've offered it in conjunction with their purchase, just the same way they do that when you buy a car. What do they sell you? They sell you the undercoating and everything. Try selling you that undercoating, 6 months or a year later. Very difficult to do that. So sell the cure. Remember that. Anyway, this is Derek from FreshEyesMissedOpportunities.com. Thanking you very much for your time. I look forward to talking to you soon. You take care now. Bye-bye.